All right, guys. This is the American Federalism, and we started this last week, and we were talking about like immigration and gay marriage. Okay, this is about where we left off. It was either 35 or 38, somewhere in that area. What I need you guys to do is go ahead and finish this presentation and take notes. Once you get to once you get to slide 50, from that point forward, this is information that is just to help support the lesson. So it's got key terms, and it's got a summary, like what is each of the different sections that we covered, like what is it just in summary. But what I need you to do is take notes from where we left off, okay? And when you're done with that, you're going to turn it in. Now, the most important part of where we are unable to like pick up together today is I want you to look at strategies about new issues. So specifically what this slide 41 is doing is it's giving you an example of a way in which a special interest group, in this case it's Mothers Against Drunk Driving, how they were able to try and get legislation passed that they thought was important, which is to raise the drinking age from 18 to 21. And the reason why is because the mother who started Mothers Against Drunk Driving, her daughter was struck and killed by a drunk driver in 1980. Now, what's important here, I mean, the story's tragic and that's definitely important, but for our purposes, because we're looking at division of power and federalism, is this organization, right? They go to the state legislatures and they seek an increase in the drinking age, and they meet with mixed results. And what ends up happening is they don't get much traction. Meaning, most states are not really of the same mindset that like the drinking age should be increased. So what Mothers Against Drunk Driving does is they stop going to the states, and instead what they do, as it says here on number 4, they go to Congress. They start lobbying Congress specifically. And what they're doing is they're looking to get change, and when they couldn't get it done at the state level, then they began to go and look and see if they could get it done at the federal level. And they are successful. Because in 1984, Congress passes the National Minimum Drinking Age Act. But this is challenged in the courts. And remember, if you think about the characteristics of our federal system, or any federal system for that matter, whenever there's a dispute between two branches of government or between two levels of government, in this case it's the state and the federal government, it's the federal courts that are supposed to decide. And they did. The federal court sided with the federal government, because remember, Article 6 is the Supremacy Clause. And so in 1988, all 50 states were in compliance, meaning they had all raised their drinking age to 21, sorry. So what is this? It's got a special name. Well, that special name is this. It's called venue shopping. So you need to write this down, all right? This is a key term, venue shopping. It's a strategy in which interest groups select the level and the branch of government that they calculate will be most advantageous to them, meaning able to get what they're seeking done. Now, next is the advantages and the disadvantages of federalism. So you have learning objectives here. Discuss the advantages of federalism and explain the disadvantages of federalism. So if you're looking at the benefits, right, of federalism, I mean, there's 7 things here, 7 different points, but not all of these points are like worthy of your notes. Specifically, it says federalism promotes policy innovation and political participation, and it accommodates diversity of opinion. That's exactly what federalism is, okay? And then I come and I give you guys this this quote by Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis. I mean, it's an important thing, and if I was in class, I would explain more about it. But like, just know that in 1932, the Supreme Court recognized that the state's abilities to try to combat different problems differently it makes them essentially laboratories to try to figure out like what can work in, say, California, or what can work in like Pennsylvania, or what issue can you resolve in Michigan, okay? And then I go down here and I give you all of these different things that are examples. This stuff's not really necessary for you to take in your notes. Just understand that a benefit of federalism is that it promotes policy innovation. If you don't know what the word innovation is, look it up. And then also political participation, meaning people are involved, and accommodations, okay, in people's diversity, or and this doesn't necessarily mean race. It could mean that like level of wealth, level of education, level of need. What this slide is showing you is all of the different ways that you can actually be involved in government. Like, we have one federal government, but it's got 2 elected members in the executive branch, 100 in the Senate, 435 in the House. We have 50 states. There's 7,382 state legislators. There's 1,036 statewide offices, 131 boards. I think you get my point. Like, it's easy to get involved or to have political participation. That's what we're going for here. If you don't know what that means, it's not just federal, it's not just state, it's also local. Local has the most by far. Next for your notes, it says the system of checks and balances in our political system often prevents the federal government from imposing uniform policies across the country. Meaning, the way that the Constitution is written, the way that we have this checks and balances system, it's very hard for the federal government to issue a decree in which all the states have to comply. It's by design. It's saying that. Like, that's supposed to be how it is. That's why when you listen to the news, you hear people complaining about immigration or gay marriage or just a whole list of things. Our system is designed to be obstructionist, okay? You're going to want to read the rest, but you don't have to necessarily take notes on it. And then this is the drawbacks. These are the things that like make federalism not so great. And again, if you look at lines 2 and 7, that's more of me giving you examples. But line 1 and line 8, that's where the meat is. That's where you want to be taking notes. You want to base your stuff on that. So it says the federal design of our Constitution, the system of checks and balances, has jeopardized or outright blocked the federal response to important national issues. Now this is very much like this. It's just said differently. So you don't have to take the notes twice, but I'm trying to get you to understand. Our system is designed to make change difficult. Okay? Then again, these are key terms. Now, this is the important part, especially if you're one of those people who listen to the whole end. I'm going to give you a preview of what the test is going to be like. Okay, these are the things you want to study. These are the things that you want in your notes for the test that's coming up. The first question is about, it says which statement about federal and unitary systems is the most accurate. And so I'm going to give you a list, and it's multiple choice, A, B, C, D. And you're going to pick which answer it is, okay? One of the questions is going to be about local revenue when it comes to state and local governments. I gave you guys percentages, and I gave you amounts, like how much money does the state government's budget come from the federal government? How much of a local government's budget comes from the state and the federal government? You need to know those numbers. It's not in dollars either. And then I would like you to explain to me, like, what are the constitutional provisions that define the scope and the authority of the federal and state government? Now, it seems like a tough question. It's like, what are you talking about, Mr. Rob? This is crazy. But if you look right here on slide 8, it tells you. It says the Constitution contains several provisions, and the question says, what key constitutional provisions? And there's 2 of them. It's Article 1, Section 8. You guys should know these as the enumerated and the implied powers. And then also the 10th Amendment, which establishes the reserve powers. Okay, so what are the main functions of the federal and the state governments? Again, you can find that here. Oh, look at, there they are right there. And then you want to look up the court case. Well, you don't have to look it up, but it's in this presentation someplace. McCullough versus Maryland. And what you want to do is you want to explain, or you don't have to explain, it's multiple choice, but like, what is it about that particular case, McCullough versus Maryland, that's so important when you're looking at federalism? Remember, federalism is the division of power between a central government and some kind of like subordinate governments. Here in the United States, it's the states. You need to understand what new federalism is. You need to understand what cooperative federalism is. You need to be able to explain what's the difference between cooperative federalism and dual federalism. Okay, remember, like, this is where we were like talking about like the different kinds of cakes. So like, I'm not expecting your answer to be cooperative federalism is like a marble cake and dual federalism is like layer cake. You can include that in your answer. That's totally legitimate. But like, what does that actually mean? And remember, the word I'm looking for is jurisdiction. Like, one, you need to understand what that word means, and then how do you incorporate that into your answer? You need to understand like how federal grants are used like today, not land grants. Okay, I'm talking about cash grants. So that's what you want to be specifically looking up and studying. You have to understand what an unfunded mandate is. You need to understand what do I mean when I say that a carrot is a grant and a stick is a mandate? I'm going to ask you to explain what that means, like sort of unpack it for me. And then you're going to have to know or look up what's immigration federalism. And then you're going to have to look up what's the evolution of same-sex marriage. Now remember, same-sex marriage was illegal. Then it was legal in some states. And that's like, oh, where's that at? That's down in this area right here. So slides 37. And so how has it changed over time? So it went from being completely illegal to now it's legal in all 50 states. Okay. And again, that question is actually multiple choice. I don't think you'll have a problem with it, but you need to be looking at like what gay marriage is and how has it changed over time. You need to understand what venue shopping is, and you need to be able to define it. Okay. So one question about venue shopping is going to be multiple choice. And then one of the short answers is going to ask you to define what venue shopping is. I'm going to ask you what the advantages of federalism are and also what the disadvantages of federalism are. And remember, when you're looking at that, it's very easy to think that these answers are gigantic because the drawbacks has 8 different points, but points 2 through 8 are just examples. They're not necessary. And so when you're looking for the advantages, right, it's really, again, you've got lots of examples here, lots, but only the first blip, I think is what it's called, or point is where the answer is. All right. So the next test that you have is 18 questions, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 multiple choice questions. Okay. I have, what's that called? I have tutoring on Wednesday. So if you feel like you need to come see me to get some help on like how to prepare for this test that's coming up on this Thursday, because you're done with federalism, please feel free to see me. Okay. The other thing you can do is between now and Wednesday, you can also send me emails and asking me for clarifications about like different things. All right. Lastly, what I would also recommend that you do is work together to come up with like a study buddy group or something like that, so that you can work together to figure out the best way to move forward. Okay, because this is your 3rd test now, and I've changed up things a little bit. I've inserted some multiple choice, like I said, but you'll still have some short answers too. All right, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you later this week.